Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more 410 slug testing. And we've got another 410 slug out here today that we haven't tried, so I'm definitely curious to see what it does. You know, we haven't had the best luck with 410 slugs and accuracy so far. So maybe this one can change the trend, but I don't know. Quite honestly, I kind of doubt it, but we'll just have to test it anyway and see what happens. But for the shell I've got out here today, I've got some of these, the Federal Power-Shok 410 slugs. These are 410, 2.5 inch, 1/4 ounce rifled slug, moving about 1775, so the box says. So very similar loading to some of the other stuff that we've tested, like the Winchester Super X. So I'm definitely curious to see how these perform, at least in comparison to what those did. And for the setup we've got out here today, I've got my Mossberg 500 410 turkey out here again, but the turkey moniker pretty much just says camouflage with changeable chokes. It's not any kind of special overbore or anything like that. And speaking of chokes, I currently have an improved cylinder choke in the gun, which is where we're going to start, and we'll see what happens from there. So that leads us into, well, how are we going to test it? And we're going to do kind of a similar thing that we've done on the previous 410 slug test. We're going to start by shooting a 3-shot group through the improved cylinder choke at 25 yards and see what it gives us. We're going to know pretty quick whether it's going to be pretty decent or pretty terrible. If it's good, I'll back it out to 50 yards and we'll take our second 3-shot group and see how it does at 50. If the 25-yard group with the improved cylinder choke doesn't give us what we want, then I'll throw the full choke in the gun, which has seemed to be about the best performer so far, even though it hasn't been great still, and we'll shoot another 3-shot group at 25 yards to see the difference between them. It's not a scientific way to test it, it's not an ideal way to test it, but that's what we're working with today. And I do have the chronograph as well, so we will be able to see what kind of velocity we're running, what kind of energy numbers we have, and how close it is to the box claim. But enough rambling, let's get you guys a view of the target and the chrono and start off 25 yards, improved cylinder choke, 3-shot group, and we'll see what we get. Alright, so let's take a quick pause here and look at this. This is our 25-yard group with the improved cylinder choke, and I did measure it, and it came out to be right at 3.5 inches. Now, I do think it could be a little bit better than that because I might have slightly pulled that last shot down there at the bottom, so I'm thinking it could have been a little bit better than 3.5 inches. But if you've been following along with the 410 slug testing, you know that we have yet to see a group even close to that good. So I'm already liking what I'm seeing here, that's for sure. And I believe that's a good enough group to back it out to 50 yards and shoot 3 more shots over at that right circle over there and see what happens when we stick with the improved cylinder choke. So I think that's what we're going to do. I'm going to back everything up to 50 yards and we'll shoot another 3-shot group over there on the right, and we'll measure it and see what it gives us out at 50, because that's probably about the farthest that I would ever shoot a setup like that anyway. So let's get everything reset up, stick with the improved cylinder choke, move it out to 50, and take another 3-shot group over here and see what we get. Alright, so now let's take a look here at our 50-yard group with the improved cylinder choke still in the gun. I measured that out over there to be a 3-inch group, so a little bit better than that, which is pretty much what I thought, because I kind of felt like I might have pulled that bottom shot. But 3 inches at 50 yards with nothing but a bead sight off of a Bog Death Grip tripod, which is pretty stable, but you know, not as good as a bench would be. 3 inches, that's not bad at all, I wouldn't say. And I can tell you, it is tremendously better than anything we've ever tested out of that Mossberg 500 as far as slugs go so far. There's no question that is by long shot the best performance, and probably could do a little bit better too. I don't know, it might like something like a modified choke just that little tiny bit better. Maybe that's something we should test. But either way, I am absolutely impressed on what these have been able to do, because this setup has not given us very good performance with slugs so far. And that right there, although it's not, you know, rifle precision accuracy, that would absolutely do the job on predators or groundhogs or anything like that. So overall here, definitely liking what I'm seeing, and a tremendous increase in performance with these shells, I'd say. Okay, and here's the little gas check pieces that they use under the slugs, which is a lot different than what we've tested before. They have these long, hard plastic cylinders up here, but they have this little like spring shock system here with a tail that opens up kind of like a power belt bullet in a muzzleloader would. That little suspension cushion part right there might be the difference on why these slugs shoot a little bit better than a lot of the other rounds. I don't know, but definitely something pretty interesting to see here. Alright, so let's take a look at our chronograph numbers here, and I hope the glare isn't too bad. The box was calling for 1775, and we were dancing a little bit above and a little bit below that, so I definitely think we got what the box is saying. But let's go through here and see what the actual numbers come out to. So for a high, we had 1896. For a low, it gave us 1692, and that gave us an average of 1819. So a little bit above what the box is saying. So these things are definitely moving pretty quick, but it's always good to see at least the box claim on rounds like this. A lot of these big name companies put a number that we will never see in reality on the box. So it's always good to see what the box is saying anyway. So definitely nothing out of the ordinary here, and looking pretty good overall, I'd say. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that performance there? I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit surprised. I really wasn't expecting these to be a whole lot different than the other rounds we've already tested, since they're a 1/4 ounce lead rifled slug just like the others. But I was pleasantly surprised with how they did. And I think that we could sit down on a bench and test those rounds through several different chokes, and we might even be able to see better results than that. So these unquestionably seem to be the best as far as accuracy goes so far out of all the typical, lead rifled slugs like that off the store shelf. But what do you guys think about it? Is that about what you were expecting to see, or are you kind of like me and you're a little bit surprised? And if you've tested some of these 2.5 inch Power-Shok 410 slugs, how have they done for you? And is this about what you've seen, or a little bit better or a little bit worse? Let me know all that down in the comments. And let me know if you want to see us come out here and run these through a bunch of different chokes and see what they like and what we can actually get off of a bench rest this time. Because I definitely think that would be a pretty interesting thing to test. But with that being said, I've got a bunch more testing coming y'all's way, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we do have the channel Instagram as well as a mailbox where you can send stuff to the channel. If you're interested in that information, it will be in the description for you. But I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.